I circled the city, circled again. I knew where I wanted to go, but my wings would not fly me there. I was Tobias the bird boy, the nothlet who devoured live mice and battled evil aliens. I'd stolen Yeerk spacecraft, raided Yeerk strongholds, and nearly gotten myself adopted by a Yeerk visor. I'd been stabbed and burned and mangled and tortured, and only moments ago got the crap beat out of me by Hork-Bajir that should have been working for the WWF. But I couldn't face my mother. Couldn't even face the roof of her house. You want pathetic? All those years with my aunt and uncle, no matter what they said about her, I knew my mother loved me. She wanted me, wanted to take care of me, but for some reason she couldn't. I invented reasons for her. Maybe she'd been wrongfully imprisoned by some tyrannical foreign government. Maybe she'd been shipwrecked on a deserted island. Maybe she'd been relocated in the Witness Protection Program. Maybe I'd been relocated in the Witness Protection Program. But not once, not one single time, did I imagine she lived 8 blocks from me, that she passed my house every single day, and kept going.
Mother, you had me, but I never had you. I wanted you. You didn't want me.
This video is brought to you by Patreon. Patreon, because I like to eat. Our book opens with Tobias out on the hunt. He closes in on a mouse, but the sudden appearance of a rattlesnake forces him to back off. We mentioned in the last review that the edges of the Yeerk invasion are starting to fray, that people were gradually becoming more aware that something's not right with the world. That seems to be bleeding into the physical world as well, as Tobias's field has been drying up, the prey animals disappearing. Of course, this is a metaphorical degradation. It's not like the Yeerks are intentionally causing global warming. Or are they? Rachel arrives, and she's brought some food. My hawk brain focused on the usual. Hunger, food, kill. Okay, maybe we could skip kill just this once. Eat. But my human brain remembered something more. The pure pleasure of sinking my teeth into 3 inches of hamburger and bun, the crunch of lettuce and onion, the grease and cheese and special sauce combining as I chewed, and the fries. Was there ever a more perfect food than a McDonald's French fry? Fresh from the fryer while they're still steaming, crisp and salty and so soft in the middle they... Tobias? Rachel was staring at me, frowning. I asked if you want me to take the pickles off. Okay, well, Rachel and Tobias talk a bit about we sat side by side in the grass with our backs against the tree. I bit into the Big Mac and sighed. Well, actually, I moaned out loud. Grease and cheese and special sauce dribbled down my chin. Yeah, right. So, like I was saying, the Yeerk invasion hasn't broken into open war yet, but which would have been embarrassing if I hadn't been so involved with my lunch. Sometimes I forget normal human things, like my old locker combination, or which months have 31 days, or how to work the token machine at the arcade. Useless information to a hawk, of course. Still, it scared me a little, like I'd crossed a line and might not ever get back. Or worse, I'd forget so many things that, given the opportunity, I might not want to get back. But I hadn't forgotten the Big Mac, or the fries. As long as I had fast food, I had hope. Enough already! I'll buy some fucking McDonald's! Now get on with the horrors of war and stuff. You know what's really funny? McDonald's never had an Animorphs tie-in promotion, but Taco Bell, Pizza Hut, and KFC did. That's right, kids. Once upon a time, those 3 places actually gave out kids' meal toys. They're actually pretty cool. My favorite is the little dome ship toy. I really want to get one of those. So yeah, this isn't some kind of cross-advertising thing. Someone behind this book just loved McDonald's that much That person might be today's ghostwriter, Lisa Harkrader, who we last saw as the ghostwriter of number 44, The Unexpected. Thankfully, she doesn't have to research foreign countries for this one, and the end result is much more solid this time around. Tobias and Rachel go to the barn for a meeting. Cassie informs everyone that the vet ward of the gardens had been broken into the night before, but the only thing they stole were blood samples. Specific blood samples, tiger and gorilla and wolf, blood from the same kind of animals the Animorphs commonly use as battlemorphs. They even got violent when they discovered that the gardens didn't have a red-tailed hawk. This is most certainly the Yeerks. But who in their ranks is smart enough to come up with this idea? Right, put those samples in the cooler and make sure you double down on that fucking elephant blood. Why haven't we infested you yet? Because I'm just that baller! What's odd about this is that the Yeerks are keeping super hush. The Chee haven't heard about this, and nothing about this has been picked up on the Z-Space communicator. But the sharing is now advertising a blood drive, which might mean that the Yeerks want to check human blood for animal DNA, which means that someone in the Yeerk ranks might have finally convinced Visser 1 that the Andalite bandits may be humans with morphing powers. There's a lot of uncertainty going on. Did any of the Animorphs give blood in the last 3 years? Should the Animorphs take actions to stop this? Or would doing so just confirm the Yeerk suspicions? They decide that Axe and Marco should team up and hack into the computer systems of every place in town that might handle blood. Hospitals, blood banks, those kind of things. Anything with a super alien firewall is probably Yeerk run. The two of them eventually zone in on a local lab called Midtown Bioservices, and if that's not the name of a place working on the zombie virus, I don't know what is. So the Animorphs fly over there, and it just so happens that the circus is in town. The circus, everyone! Come see the abused animals and underpaid performers. It'll leave you with a bad taste in your mouth, but don't worry, we have funnel cake! This gives the Animorphs the cover to let Rachel morph elephant and create a distraction. Why not just sneak in like normal? Because this book marks the return of the GLEAT biofilters, that security system introduced in number 17 The Underground that'll vaporize any non-Yeerks that walk past it. Man, with that track record, if this series ran another 30 books, the Yeerks might have remembered they had invented a freeze ray too. This is a good point to bring up that this book makes a lot of references to the 50-plus books that came before it. There's an extra long catching new readers up introduction, and every other paragraph seems to make a callback to a past event. Mostly stuff that happened to Tobias, but also things like, say, the Andalite flu back in number 29, The Sickness. Thing is, this isn't really a story built on continuity in the same way, say, number 18, The Decision was. In many ways, these callbacks are a type of filler. Not the worst use of filler, mind you, but without it, this book would be about 20 pages too short. So instead of Cassie morphing Yeerk, infesting one of the other Animorphs and getting past the biofilter that way, Rachel morphs Elephant, spears the biofilter controls with a pole, and runs towards the circus to hide from the Yeerks. Because if there's one thing that's good at hiding, it's an elephant. It's like how the giant lizard was super sneaky in that 1998 Godzilla movie. The rest of the Animorphs get into the base and fly morph and demorph in a broom closet. Hey, I stared at Marco. You got a new morphing outfit. What, you just noticed? He tugged at his bike shorts and tight blue t-shirt. Yeah, I also noticed that it seems we're not morphing normal clothes anymore. With all these callbacks and playing the continuity card, you'd think this book could remember something introduced 2 books ago, but what do I know? The Animorphs all end up shredding Marco's shirt, morph Hork-Bajir, and tie the strips around their arms so that they look like they're part of the blue band Hork-Bajir. Smart. This gets them into the Yeerks' big computer lab, which Axe starts to hack. They soon discover that the Yeerks have made at least one match already, but it's not the one they expected. Axe shook his head. This is very strange. It indicates a human who has significant family ties with one of the Andalite bandits. He leaned toward the screen. But the computer has not yet uncovered the identity of this Andalite bandit. Oh man, Jake! Cassie closed her eyes. We overlooked something. Something huge. Our blood is all over the place. Every time we fight these creeps, we bleed. Traces of our human DNA is floating in all of that animal blood. All they have to do is scoop it up and wait for a match. Jake nodded. Or a partial match. Somebody in our family. He stared at Axe. Tom? No, Prince Jake. Marco leaned over Axe's shoulder. Tobias? He looked up at me. You may want to see this. I crossed to the computer. Axe moved aside so I could see the screen. And the name. Lauren. But that's I stopped. My mother. Yes, Lauren, Tobias' mother, making her long-awaited return. It's only fair. If they're going to bring Aldrea back from the dead, then they should bring back the best character from the Andalite Chronicles. Before anyone can really register this information, a bunch of real Blue Band Hork-Bajir burst into the room, led by an old lady controller because even the Yeerks respect the elderly. There's a major fight, Marco gets really fucked up, it's not looking good, when suddenly the door is knocked down by a forklift. Who is driving? Oh my god, Bear is driving! How can that be? Yeah, Rachel came to save the day. The Animorphs get out of there, there's a nasty explosion, and the Animorphs have failed in their mission. If the Yeerks didn't have their blood already, then they left a lot of it back there. The Animorphs and their family are in immediate danger, and they have to decide if they're going to finally pull that trigger and let them in on what's going on. Can we do that to them? Cassie looked around the barn, at the animals, her dad's equipment, his small, steady hand writing on the medical charts. Can we take away their lives? Oh my god, Cassie. You've been fighting the Yeerks for 3 fucking years. How is it that you still can't grasp any of this? If you don't do this, your parents will either be made controllers or will be killed. Either way, their lives are over. I can't... Cassie! So Jake decides they should sleep on this and vote on it in the morning. Which is super stupid, but the book called Jake out on this later, so I won't rag on it here. Tobias naturally flies to Lauren's address, a bad part of town to continue the world is going to shit even if it's technically not the Yeerk's fault theme, and watches as his mother leaves her house and goes to a nearby church. The catch? Lauren is blind. She has a German Shepherd named Champ as a service animal and everything. Tobias morphs fly and follows her into the church to discover that she's a volunteer at a crisis center. It confuses the hell out of Tobias. What happened to her? Even if she became blind, how could a woman like this leave him? All the Animorphs meet up at Cassie's barn for what'll turn out to be the last time. Sorry, Unibank, you're gonna have to find some other vet clinic to fund. They've decided they're going to do this. They're going to get their families out of there and move them to the new Hork-Bajir Valley. They've brought in Mr. King the Chi to help and go about easing Cassie's parents into this. Cassie's mom is on the porch, drinking her coffee, reading the newspaper, when Tobias flies in and starts talking to her. She takes this reasonably enough until Tobias starts demorphing, to which she responds to by wrapping Tobias up in her newspaper and trying to take him to the barn for some emergency vet surgery or something. Then she sees Axe. Get back, Cassie! She kept her eyes on Axe, her body between her daughter and the blue creature. I knew those high-voltage power lines would have an impact on the wildlife. Stay behind me. It could be radioactive. Oh, good. It's genetic. Cassie's father finally comes out to see what's going on, and yeah, it takes a lot of talking to, but eventually the Animorphs get Cassie's parents up to speed. Amazing. Cassie's mom reached out and ran her hand across the blue fur on Axe's rump. Mom! Cassie snatched her mother's hand away. Would you play with Jake's butt? Of course not. Then quit playing with Axe's. There's almost certainly erotic fan fiction spun off from this scene, which I wholeheartedly encourage. With the help of some holograms from Mr. King, Cassie and her parents load up their truck and drive out of there, Marco tagging along as a bodyguard. Next stop, Rachel's. Everyone arrives to find Rachel's mother on the phone with a client and her sisters watching television. Rachel morphs Grizzly because she knows what it takes to get her mother's attention, while her sisters respond to Axe. Can you make sure Rachel's sisters don't go anywhere? Little girl giggles erupted from the living room. I have already made sure, Prince Jake. They think I am a Pokemon. I have told them I am an Andalite and am actually quite swift, but they insist they need to train me. Well, I mean, we already know Visor 1 is technically a Pokemon, so I guess by extension Axe would be as well. Prince Jake, help! They taught me Flash, and now I can't forget it! So, Rachel's sisters. Unless they've been Benjamin Buttoning this entire time, Jordan should be 14 and Sarah either 9 or 10 at this point. I don't think children of that age are going to react like that if a fucking monster casually walks into their living room. So Rachel basically has to strong-arm her mother into the car, and the entire Rachel family, minus her dad because who knows where he is, drives off to safety.